The vote, yielding 94 countries in favour, 14 against and 73 abstentions, was part of a continuation of the General Assembly's special emergency session on Ukraine.
The proposal in front of you today is a proclamation that Russia must be held accountable for its violations of international law in Ukraine. It is a reaffirmation of the need of a concrete mechanism for reparations that will breathe life into this proclamation. It is a call for the member states to come together and build legitimate international infrastructure to deal with the consequences of Russian aggression against Ukraine.
The resolution was driven by Western nations led by the European Union.
Accountability means that costs move from the victims to the aggressor. There is no question of whether Russia should pay. It's rather a question of when and the amount. Second, what does this resolution do? The resolution merely recommends the creation by member states and Ukraine of a register of damage. That register will serve as a repository of evidence of all types of damage.
Russia's envoy called out what they view as the hypocritical nature of the resolution, arguing that Western nations never considered reparations as a way of atoning for their own geopolitical sins, as Moscow's envoy suggested that the funding of the proposed mechanism would come from the sanctioned assets of his own country. Accusing the West of seeking to extend and worsen the conflict.
Ущербность этой инициативы очевидна.
The flawed nature of this initiative is obvious. Legally speaking, the provisions of the draft cannot withstand any criticism. They are legally null and void. They are an attempt to legalize something that, from the view of existing international law, cannot be legalized. At the same time, the co-sponsors of the draft cannot but understand that passing this resolution will lead to consequences which will, like a boomerang, come back to them.
Explaining its abstention, South Africa said the resolution sent a message of exceptionalism where reparations matter in some cases and not others.
There's no clarity on what the eventual mechanism will look like, its functions, and how it will relate to the General Assembly. We also do not know what its eventual legal status will be. We are therefore uncomfortable that the sanctity of the UN General Assembly will be used to give legitimacy to an unknown process.
Eritrea's envoy, speaking on behalf of a group of countries that included Cuba, Zimbabwe, China and Venezuela, slammed the resolution as going beyond the mandate and responsibilities of the General Assembly.
We also recall detrimental external interference in the internal affairs of sovereign states, including foreign interventions and invasions in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Those states suffering from foreign interference, colonialism, slavery, oppression, unilateral coercive measures, illegal blockades, and other international wrongful acts also deserve the right for remedy, reparation, and justice, which should be addressed through sound legal processes.
This is the fifth resolution to pass the Assembly since February in condemnation of Russia's military aggression in Ukraine. Sherwin Bryceby's SABC News, New York.